Steve Taylor with Think HR and Insurance Services. We design benefit plans you understand so you can actually use them. In this video, we're going to discuss employee questions that are just really difficult to answer. So, as an insurance broker, I work directly with a lot of HR managers, founders, anybody who's in charge of the employer benefit plan. Um, you wouldn't believe how comfortable some people are with just saying anything to their HR team in their company. So it can be very difficult to answer questions, and I want to address different ways to approach it that I've seen work. So, one of the questions we get is, why doesn't our plan cover a specific treatment or medication? Why doesn't our plan cover that? You want to make sure with an employee that it's not your responsibility to give them the answer, but it is your responsibility to give them a response. Right? So, with the response, what I would recommend saying is, hey, well, as far as the coverage that we have these different plan designs. You may have multiple carriers, so you may want to tell them which carrier were you most interested in looking at. They might say Kaiser or UHC. Then you would say, okay, we have Kaiser and UHC. Which plan were you most interested in? I was most interested in the Kaiser plan. Okay, great. So what we'll do is let me reach out to you can either call Kaiser directly on the back of your card. You have like a member number, all that. Typically, they're the best source to answer these specific questions because as an HR manager, you're not really equipped to speak on behalf of the insurance company. I mean, even as a broker myself, I still rely on carrier resources to answer some of these questions. Why? Well, because when it comes down to the bill, the employee goes to the service provider. The service provider then creates a bill for that employee. It's their liability. And that employee is backed by the insurance plan, whichever one they decided to choose. Now, that employee only gets to choose if they want to be on the employer sponsored plan from the suite of plans you decided to offer, and it may not suit them. But at this stage, you're not really qualified as an HR manager to tell them what's covered and what's not because you're just not the insurance company. My personal recommendation is if it's a prescription, if they can go to the formulary link, which you should have access to, or you can even reach out to, if you want to go above and beyond and really take care of this person, maybe they're a C-level executive or a new employee and you just want to give them a big, welcome to the company bear hug. You may want to reach out to your carrier rep or your broker and ask, like, hey, what resources do we have for the employee to see if a specific treatment is covered? What number should they call? Is there a direct line? Some employers do have a direct line or a direct customer service person. Some people are on like a pod team, and some folks just have a general 800 number. It just really depends on your team, your plan, your design, all that. If you're on a PEO, I still think whether you are on a great PEO with a great service model or not, the carrier ultimately is, in my opinion, the best source of truth for the employee. So, my recommendation is if somebody wants to know why something is covered or not covered on a plan, invite them to the carrier's resources. Um, like UHC has chat options, Anthem, chat options, Kaiser, almost every carrier that's national or well known. They usually have some way, shape, or form for the employee to get in contact with the team, and most questions are answered by chat, even if it's just a chat bot. Because if you're not in the insurance all the time, well, where do I go to find this formulary? What is a formulary? Formulary is just a list of what are all the drugs at what quantities and what medical code are they covered? Which ones are covered? And which ones are covered under this network? So if it's like a fully insured plan, they may have a certain network that's in the summary of benefits description, but again, it's a summary, it's not necessarily detailed. This is a more specific detailed question. And also, you want to seek to understand where's the employee getting this information from. Sometimes these employees, they get the information from, their provider. And I'm not talking about the doctor. I'm talking about, you're upfront and the person that's in reception, when you first get there, they book your appointments. Sometimes they're also the medical billing person as well. Sometimes it's a third party outsourced company, and the person answering the questions of the employees doesn't really know themselves. But ultimately, you want to do this. The provider, they really want to just get paid quickly as possible. And sometimes they don't want to get paid by insurance, right? They want to get paid directly because they need their revenue now. And they may tell the employees something that's just not accurate to your plan. So that's why I always tell the folks that come to us with the question that are in HR, I would direct them to the resources. My next thing is, if my HR teams or the founders or managers are not equipped with these resources, then then I'd like to have a conversation of, one, how can we educate the actual point person at the company, point of contact? How can I educate that person on it, because it's beneficial for them to know how their own plans work? And then also, they can be a resource internally if people do want to have dialogue and that's the culture that you have. Um, and then, how do we put it into their HR tech stack, right? Can we embed it in the payroll somewhere, in the payroll systems? Is there a benefit admin tool that you like to use that we can put these links very clearly for them? Do we need to do a mid-year revisit or a meeting with the entire company, or shoot a video on a very specific matter and blast it out to the employees? Like, let's just get creative. Let's find a solution that actually makes sense for how we can answer these questions, so that the goal is for the people to get the information that they want. They feel heard. They feel like they matter. Their employer really cares about them. And they just, I mean, if they want to be self served, great. If they want to talk about it, we want to put boundaries on what we're able to talk about with the employees, right? Because again, you're not the insurance company. You can't speak for them and say, yeah, that's covered. We've seen that happen before. You don't know. And you don't want to make promises to employees that you can't keep. So again, I always say, just direct them to the carrier resources. If you don't know what those are, you want to chat with your broker, you want to chat with the carrier, and make sure that you have these resources available for your team. If you guys have more questions on different ways to answer these questions, um, what are some different ways that you could support your employees, feel free to drop them in the comments, and more than happy to chat with you about it one on one. If you do want to have an employee benefit strategy session, then we're happy to have that as well, and see how we can help you in any way, shape, or form. So this is Steve Taylor with Think HR and Insurance Services. I hope this was helpful, and take care.